the government fiscal year is October 1st to September 30th. So by September 30th, we could see maybe some funding come available really quick that has to turn around and be spent, or they have what's called expiring funds in the government before it expires. We could see some fallout from that. In other words, the government's laying a lot of people off, and I wonder how some agencies are still going to function without some of that workforce.
Martians landed?
Yes.
Wearing Prada suits?
Yes.
Drinking Henry Seltzer?
Yes.
Chewing juicy fruit?
Yes, and?
Your branding here?
Yes, brand.
Your message here?
Yes, and?
A verse about?
Yes.
Your product here?
Yes.
I'm Hirsch Redmond.
Yes, and?
I'm a message therapist.
Yes.
And I have a podcast.
Yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes.
We'll help you fix the world.
Yes.
Or your bottom line.
All right.
Your bottom line.
Get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast.
In the hot seat today on Yes Brand is Linda Rawson. Linda's a tech entrepreneur, author, inventor, C-level executive. She's the president of DynaGrace Enterprises, which is a women-owned small business in Morgan, Utah. She has secured millions of dollars in federal government contracts, conducting cutting-edge technology R&D for prestigious clients like the Air Force and Naval Research Laboratories. Her journey started as a software engineer in the 80s, a time when women were a rarity in the technology field in Utah, and so she's kind of made a history of exceeding expectations, overcoming challenges, and is definitely passionate about helping women entrepreneurs. And we're going to cover a lot of this stuff, including work-life balance, how she manages to spend time with family and friends while running these various entities. So welcome, Linda, to Yes Brand.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
It's great to have you. People who listen to the show know that we have a lot of women-owned business leaders on our show. I tend to. It's funny. I was just talking with someone about this. I don't officially proclaim, "Oh, I work with a lot of women-owned businesses," but historically, over 30 years that I've been either in PR or as a creative director, or now as a personal brand builder, it's been a through line of mine that I just really love supporting and working with women-owned businesses. And I think part of that is that I am intrigued by firsts, when people are the first, person to do something in a certain field. Even one of my early guests on the podcast had broken into the field of being a sales rep in the oil business in Texas. And
wow.
and she and I'm blanking on her name now. I'll put it in the show notes, but her thing was that she had to pretend to be somebody's assistant to get people to take her call, because they didn't want to take the call from a woman. So she would say, "Oh, my boss would love to talk to you about this. He has this wonderful offer, and you should really take it." "Oh, well, tell him I'm interested." "All right. Well, he says, and then she would be, but she rose to the level of senior vice president in that company. But it was a long road. Tell us about your road a little bit. In Morgan, Utah, and in the tech field.
Oh, certainly. I began my career at Hill Air Force Base in Utah. It's a local Air Force base. And I worked my way up from being a data entry specialist. And I learned programming with my own, skills and knowledge. My boss would let me work after time on the programs if I got all my work done. So I'd be looking at these data entry from 80 card columns. I don't even know if you know what those are.
Nope.
And I'd be like, so just so that I could program the computer.
Yeah.
at the end of my day. So that's how it all began. And I began to make connections. And then, fast forward 15, 20 years or something. And I had a blast from my past come forward and ask me if I wanted to help on a project at NASA. And I said, "Oh, that sounds really cool. I'd love to help with that." And he said, "But you have to start your own business." And that was the start of DynaGrace Enterprises. It was formerly called Sensory Technology Consultants, and because of a trademark issue, we became DynaGrace Enterprises. And
What does
we've been doing
Dynagrace stand for? Where did it?
Dyna stands for power and then grace.
I like
So
that.
in everything we do, there's power and grace.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And so you were going to tell me what it's kind of been known for over the years?
Yeah, I've done because of my, women-owned check mark, my minority check mark. I got something called an 8A status because of gender discrimination. And I was able to obtain that, and we were able to get contracts because of that and work with some high-powered companies.
Yeah.
And that's progressed to where we are today. And now we're helping some other companies get into federal government contracting. It's a little
Okay.
tricky right now.
Yeah. Yeah. What talk about that? I mean, that is a challenging way to start the year.
Yeah.
So what is the atmosphere like from your point of view?
I think there's a lot of opportunity for small business. And here's why. The federal government employees are being forced back into the office. There's some things like office supplies. There's some things like, hey, I need light bulbs. I need facility maintenance. I need all these legacy buildings that may have been sitting partially vacant for all this time. They need smart building controls. All of a sudden, they need, comfort, heating and air, lots of things that were kind of left neglected because people were working at home.
Yeah. So there's that transition. And is that where GovConBiz comes into the picture?
Yes. Yeah, I wrote a book on how to get started in government contracting about 8 years ago. Because of that book, I've had a continual stream of people ask for help. And I decided I'm getting into my retirement years. Maybe that would be a good residual income by being able to consult a few times a year or month. And then, that funds my travel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But you have other stuff that you like to do. You're kind of an amateur photographer. Tell us about that. How'd you get interested in that?
Oh, I've liked taking pictures, but it's not the same kind of detail that you can get with a really nice camera and a really nice lens. And this weekend, I went out on a night photography workshop, and we fully concentrated on getting the Milky Way over the orange rocks in Bryce Canyon. It was very, very beautiful.
That's beautiful. Um, so on this show, obviously with Yes Brand, we're talking not only about what your companies do, but what the branding journey has been, and where do you draw the line between, the Linda Rawson brand and GovConBiz or DynaGrace Enterprises. This is a very it's not an uncommon challenge. People who are high achievers tend to excel in a lot of different areas, and then they maybe have a plate that's super full. What's the journey been like from the point of view of branding these entities and getting the word out about them?
It all boils down to relationships. For Dinah Grace, it's definitely relationships that have been in place for years. And those people, how do you get your work done so well? Who is helping you? And those people spread the word. Are they an easy company to work with? Yes, they are. Well, we want to get on board with that. So for Dinah Grace, that's how it's grown. Now, for Linda Rawson, it's been the books that I write. And for GovConBiz, it's been the people based on the original book that I wrote that want help. They want to know how to get started. I mean, there's tons of consultants out there. Most of them have never had a business in federal government, that most of them have never even had a contract. And yet they're telling other people how to do this. And it's fine to get started with, but the later on, when you've ran into things like audits and lawsuits and, stay of work or human resource problems, all of those things, the other company, other consultants have not had those experiences.
Now, there are, government contracts of all shapes and sizes. I know, all I really know about it from having, I have a lot of experience in commercial production and post. A lot of my clients are in that field, and obviously those that are cleared to work for the Air Force, for the Army, and do the Marines, and do the commercials, and do. I've even had clients that integrated in feature films, integrated, Navy SEALs into feature films, and it can be a very, very complex security clearance issue and all of that. But in the current climate, where things are in so much flux, uh, how are people managing that? What is, because it clearly isn't business as usual, right? So what is it like?
A lot of contracts are on hold, including one of ours, and people are just waiting to see what flushes out from that. Yeah, and if a lot of federal workers get laid off, sometimes government contractors step in to augment the workforce, and that may be what Doge is thinking, is that, eliminate like with any company, the highest paid or the longest employee, they may want to eliminate them and bring on, cheaper workforce. And it may come to that with a lot of early retirements and a lot of knowledge base, that they may want to bring consultants back to get that department going again. So I see opportunity. I think we won't see that for probably a good 6 to 8 months, even a year. I feel by fiscal year, the government fiscal year is October 1st to September 30th. So by September 30th, we could see maybe some funding come available really quick that has to turn around and be spent, or they have what's called expiring funds in the government before it expires. We could see some fallout from that. In other words, the government's laying a lot of people off, and I wonder how some agencies are still going to function without some of that workforce.
From your point of view, do you see a strategy there? I mean, and if it's okay to talk about, I don't know,
Oh yeah, no, 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 it's totally
yeah,
fine. I'm happy to
yeah,
share. So, and it's only my opinion,
yeah, yeah, of
and
course.
and and it may not be the right opinion, but I do see opportunity. And I do see that they will want to augment their workforce. I think that's coming. And I do think they're going to want to upgrade their buildings.
Yeah,
There's a lot of those things. Or let's say they do away with some buildings. They're going to need help demolishing them. They're going to need help running environmental studies. They're going to need help in those arenas. So I think some of the low-lying fruit is still out there. It's just right now, we don't know quite what that landscape looks like. So
yeah,
I would say to the hardcore contractors is, I hope you have savings and hang on for a minute, because it's going to be a rough ride. And then I think we're going to do well.
yeah. Um, because the suggestions from the outside, not necessarily outside, but from outside the government, certainly, that I've heard in that field are similar to what you may have been alluding to about, getting cleaning up the top heavy spends on the senior management, because those people aren't really doing the stuff anymore. They're kind of overseeing it, managing it, but you don't necessarily want to lose the younger staff or the up and coming staff because they're doing the bulk of the work. So if you lay them off, then nothing's getting done. Whereas if you streamline senior management, as you say, if you start to bring in consultants, then that may keep things running, but not be as top heavy. Um, but let's get into the PR aspect of that a little bit, because from the point of view of the consultants and people out there like you, uh, there's there's a new attention now on government contracting, right? So have you been approached, either about more books or about appearances or things like that to come out and talk specifically about this stuff as an
I
expert?
I have, yes, and I have several books in the works right now to do just exactly what you're speaking of.
Oh, wow. What can you tell us about the books and the audience for the books?
Yeah. One in particular, I'm rewriting my book from 8 years ago to update it for sure. I'm
Yeah.
doing a workbook that takes you from start to finish with exercises and going in and figuring out how to bid and where to find the work and, with some templates. And then I also am working on the accounting part of government contracting. The accounting systems are different. The way you need to do your accounting for your small business is different. And you can keep it both ways. You can keep it for the taxes, and then you can keep it for the bids. And there's ways to do those things.
Now, it would seem that there's a lot of people, if people are laid off, it would seem that there's a big audience for books on how to maneuver, right?
Yes.
As kind of free agents, so to speak, whether they are at a level where they could be consulting. Um, is there is there room for those people in the private sector, do you think?
Well, there is, large companies can, like you mentioned, can do both commercial and government work. So maybe part of their day is on government work or part of, this month you're on this project for the government and next month you're on a commercial project. There's those kinds of things where there's a dual purpose for the company. I feel
Yeah.
like that would be a place for them.
Yeah. Very interesting. And then in terms of your career, you mentioned, well, you thought about the book and consulting as being some kind of a trajectory toward retiring the Linda Rawson brand. But but at the same time, people are these days continuing with what they love, without a particular, stop date in mind. Like, oh, I have to, you have a lot of activities you like to do, scuba diving and stuff like that. So, do you have a timeline for yourself as to what you want to do, or what you want the next decade to look like?
Well, really, I love helping small business. I don't really see me retiring completely. And it's more about taking the time to do what I love in traveling and doing all those other activities, and then stepping back and helping some people. I
Yeah.
think that that's important to me.
Well, and speaking of that, I like to circle back to the guests and give them kind of the last word. And as we wrap up this interview, would you have a piece of advice for people who are in the government contracting field, but are maybe coming in, pretty early in their career, and they're coming in 2025? What would be a word of advice for them?
With government contracting, the biggest word is perseverance. It's not easy, and don't take failure as a reason to stop. Just go ahead and build on that failure and continue to do the business as usual. I would say the biggest piece of advice is to not be too broad, not try for everything. Do your homework and figure out what a niche is, including your past experience from a job. Find that niche, find the people that buy what you sell, and concentrate on that market.
All right.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and
it worked for you,
yes, then
subscribe and leave a
yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it clear?
Yes, friend.
Get your branding on
Yes.
before they're gone.